I didn't particularly want to do this video. I was a bit reluctant, to be totally honest. Some topics I don't really want to keep talking about, and one of them is literally the recent death of Charlie Kirk. Someone shot him during a rally. Now, I've done my video on discussing slightly last night, like middle of the bloody night. It's something I didn't want to go near again, but I just felt it's really important just to raise awareness in a specific area. And it weren't for any hyperbole or anything like that. It's literally just, I thought it's really important to speak out on something. So that's there on my channel. But it was inevitable that you're going to get people come out and you're going to see content talking really negative of someone who's now gone, you know. And like I said in my video, like my views on life and principles and ideals and all those things were polar opposite to him. You know, he had extreme views that I didn't agree with myself. But like I said in my other video, you can turn away. You can just ignore what they're saying. You don't have to absorb negativity. You know, it's up to you how you process it. And like I said, there was always going to be a point where some people are literally going to rejoice. And it's like that for me it's pathetic. It really is. And they justify it. For me, it's just really, really sad. I think what it is, it just shows the immense hypocrisy that you've got someone who maybe they had extreme views and maybe it was like really, really polarizing and it was really even disgraceful sometimes and demeaning. But there's just words and it's opinions and it's how they perceive life. But that only affects you if you allow it to affect you. And I think taking joy as saying some sort of like this is recompense for their views and the things they were saying, and this is justice. It's like, how is that justice? So just to share a couple of examples here, I'm not even going on it. I didn't even want to listen. I didn't even listen. I just saw what it was about, and I was like, I'm not listening to you. You know, you can't justify this with any of the shit you're going to say. That's what I thought straight away. I thought you're just seeing it through rose-tinted glasses, and you're worse than the other person. Personally, that's what I thought. So I'm just going to show two examples because I'm not going to go deep into looking for these people. Literally says, save your tears for his victims, not him.
Didn't deserve this. He said a few deaths a year are worth it if it meant preserving our God-given right to bear arms. He actively...
I don't really care what his principles were. Like, if that's what he thought, then that's what he thought. It's quite disgusting, yeah. But it's just words. It's a thought. What is he doing about it physically? You know, is he giving people like guns and things? You know what I mean? Like, he's not doing anything physically apart from talking. It's like you can switch off. And it's like, save your tears for his victims, not him. So it's like, so they're saying because he has extreme views that he deserves to no longer be here because it doesn't align with their views. So just split it for a moment. Just take it to its basic core. He has his extreme views on abortions and people's rights to determine like themselves and all those things. Yeah, it's wrong. And he'll hide behind certain things to fulfill a narrative. And he's very articulated, so and intelligent, so he's good at manipulating certain things. I noticed that myself. But to say that someone deserves to die for that, does that not show an extreme view too? And that's really what annoyed me when I saw this, because I just thought, you know better. You shouldn't be seeking revenge. Revenge is really, really shallow. It's retribution for what purpose? What does it bring? You remove one person, there'll be another in replacement. You just got to learn to just accept that other people have different opinions. And the best thing you can do is educate. Talk on topics that you think are serious and they deserve to garner attention. And effectively, it's like try to help change the narrative, if you like, educate people. But that's really the way to do it. It's not seeking revenge and retribution and the demise of someone else. Because they're not seeing it. They're just not seeing it. It's just the same. Rejoicing at someone else's death is no different than the extremism that the other person was presenting at times. And I don't think because someone has a certain viewpoint that they deserve to have their life ended, because they can evolve, they could learn, they could change. You know, you can have a life where you think one way and maybe it's determined by the experiences you've had, and it could be things that have been doctrined into them. You don't know the lifestyle everybody's had, you know, and the impressions that's been there. But people can evolve, they can change, and their mindset just adapts, you know. So there's nothing to suggest that their life would have been the same all the way through. They might have been able to heal. Didn't everybody have that chance? So who are we to say that this person should have gone? I just think it's pathetic, and they'll sit there and justify it, saying their views were extreme. That all these things and all these things that person would have said that's really, really negative. But again, it's just words. So you can't handle someone's negative opinions, negative words, to the point where you feel it's justified that they no longer have an existence here, because you in yourself, you're mentally unbalanced. The fact that you think it's justified, for me, it just shows the corruption in someone's mind, because you're seeking revenge. Revenge isn't a place of strength. It's weakness. I've had a lot of things done to me in my lifetime. I don't seek revenge on anyone. I just grow beyond the circumstance and hope one day they heal. I don't see the point of seeking revenge. Someone's suffering does not make me happy. Someone's suffering doesn't repair a situation. So it's like, what is it? Effectively, if you put it into different contexts, it's almost like someone's just gone completely evil because they feel they've suffered so much that they like to witness other people's demise. That's literally all it is. But they hide behind the fact that, this person did this and this is justified. It's not justified at all. It's not justified at all. If you cared that much, then create a platform where you can speak opposite what that person's saying. That's what you should be doing. It's not a case of you trying to eradicate someone and try to wipe them out. That's just ridiculous. That's just extremism. So although someone else pulled the trigger, it seems like some of these people would love to do it themselves. And that's quite mental to me. Because it's weird, isn't it? That someone's words and opinions can affect someone that much that they can't just switch off from it and just continue down their life without it. If it's all that validation. Some people are just martyrs. They're just attention seekers. And some people, they want validation in their life all the time. So things affect them too much. So your opinion, your outlook on life, the things you say, it affects them that much that it triggers them in their daily life. Me, in my daily life, I don't care about the noise. If I see something and I think, it's something I probably should talk about, or that needs to be addressed, I'll speak up on issues, even if it's controversial. I said in my other video, it's very rare that someone's going to 100% agree with you. It's impossible for the whole population of the world to come together and agree on every little thing. There's going to be things where we're opposites. And so you're just going to have to accept that someone has a different viewpoint, and sometimes it's going to be incredibly extreme. What you can do about it, you can't just start taking exception and get violent with every single person that has a different opinion. Someone might hear me and they might agree with some things I say, and they might hear something else I say and go, bloody hell, I didn't realize he thought about that. And it's like, that's my opinion on life, though. Like, I just have my own personal opinion. I don't copy anybody. I'm just me. And I do it from life experience and how I perceive things. And I can evolve, and I do evolve. So I'll continue to look at issues and see, like, maybe I've got a bit too fast thinking this. Maybe it should be a bit more understanding here. But when it comes to someone taking rejoice at others' demise, that for me is really incredibly low. Because you don't value anyone else's life but yourself. And you feel like your principles, so the things you believe in at this present moment, justify someone else's lack of existence now, just because it went against your thoughts and opinions on something, rather than it broaden your mind to understand that there's different viewpoints on every topic in the world. Sometimes it's going to be extreme. Sometimes it's going to feel personal. It's part of debate. It's part of conversation. It's part of change. The topic of abortions is a very delicate one. If we're going to talk about abortions, I'm going to talk about. I have no problem talking about my opinion. I am pro-choice for women, but there is a consequence in that sense. I've talked about it before. You can't have it all one way and then expect, like, for instance, a guy to have no say at all. So, for instance, then I think men in general should have the choice whether they want to raise a child too, and they shouldn't have to bear the financial repercussions if a woman decides that she's keeping the child, because you can't have it both ways. And I know this is going to grate the life out of someone, but that's people that are just having to have everything their way and everybody else, men don't matter. As I've seen a lot of this where women hate men. There's men that hate women too, and it's just, for me, this gender bias is just pathetic. But you can't have it one way and then expect it the other, So I am pro-choice. Absolutely. I think women should determine the fate of their body and all these things, because you can't ask someone to just suffer for like 9 months of their life, really suffer, just because something happened, depending on how far they are into the cycle, of course, of the conception. But yeah, again, I could go on a whole tangent with that, because I've been there myself. I've been through that situation where, like, my ex-partner, which wanted to abort our daughter. Fortunately, at the very last moment, she didn't. and I allowed her to determine for herself. But there was a consequence that I would leave, and then for me that was justified. I can't be in a situation where I have to look at someone who's terminated my child, whether it's justified or not, or whether it's their choice. It's like I still have to live with it though, and I have every choice to walk away. And if you don't like it, it's tough shit. You can't have everything your own way here. There's a consequence. It's like, what is you want to do? I'll take you to the clinic, and that's what I did. But do you know what I mean? Like, so some people, they have to have everything their own way. The whole story has to fit their narrative. And as soon as you say something that's offensive, they take real deep exception. So then where does someone else fit into the story? So for instance, let's say I didn't have that. It wasn't like, if you consider it an ultimatum. Let's say I didn't do that, and I'm just a patsy. I just agree to everything they say, and I'm just like, on the edge, like, yeah, whatever you want. I've got my life to live too. But some people try to minimize your life and just say it's only that your choices don't matter because they're marginalizing you. So then when you speak up, it'll offend someone, won't it? Point is, all of our opinions are polarizing. It'll trigger someone. So me saying, for instance, I think the mother should get to choose because it's her body, it's a vessel, effectively. And she's the one that has to suffer for a while. There'll be people who don't believe in terminations because they believe as soon as the child is being conceived, and I can understand that to a degree as well. So it's about agree to disagree sometimes, It's just, that's your take on life. Okay. And this is my take on life. Sometimes it's not that bad that you can't really be friends with someone still, because if you can't like someone because they don't like every little thing you've got to say, it's quite a shallow life, But I think some principles are bigger than that. Societal views and things. There's certain views, I think, if you don't respect humanity, for instance, it's like you can't be with some evil villain. If you can't be friends with an evil villain who really doesn't respect anybody, in life and society. But yeah, anyway. So my point really there is, it's like, are we going to say something that's offensive, or are we just going to try and pussyfoot around everything, and we just try to act like we're perfect? Because again, some people like to be martyrs, and I've said this before. Some people jump on every bandwagon just for popularity, and I just find that sad. Whether they're doing that, I don't know, because there was always going to be people come out the woodwork and just start rejoicing. I just think you're mental. That's my take on it. So this guy does someone too. Look, you make your bed, you lay in it. So effectively, he's talking about. Let's just go
Charlie
slightly.
didn't care about women dying from abortions. Charlie didn't care about people like me dying.
So it's not about whether someone cared, does it? Surely you can show compassion, though. So let's say he was racist. I'm not sure because I didn't go deeper. I didn't listen to him enough. I didn't like what he said half the time I saw stuff, so I don't go out my way to listen to him. So that's the thing, isn't it? You're going to go. Why go out of your way to be offended? That's another question, isn't it? Because I knew I didn't like him because I saw a few bits of his content, didn't like it, saw a bit more, and I just thought, I can't listen to this guy. So I naturally just faded away to stop listening. Like, why can't people just ignore things that offend them? Like, why have you got to sort of make yourself fill with hate? It's your own doing, isn't it? Because you can't walk away because you have to sort of feed the ego. That's what it comes down to. So effectively, he's saying that Charlie was a racist and he was anti-abortions, and he thinks he deserves what come to him. You can see my opinion on that. It's just ridiculous. It's like if someone's got an opinion, they've got an opinion. It doesn't justify someone losing their life. I always say this, let's consider him a bully. Let's say because of his opinions, he's really coming across as a bully. I've said this before, the bully, eventually, they'll be alone because the world will evolve. People will heal. People will see that their outlook on life is entirely negative. It doesn't respect anybody, so people will lose respect for them. So why couldn't it just be that? Why can't it just be a case of let that wave of people who follow his extreme views, let it fade out, and then he would have to live in purgatory, really. Just live a life of segregated away from the majority of society. It's going to be really hard to reintegrate unless he heals. But why say to the point that they should lose their life, though? Everybody deserves redemption. Everybody deserves a chance to heal, to grow and change, and society always evolves. But I think when you go through life seeking hate, retribution, and revenge and things like that, it's like, how does that say any better about you? But people are justifying it in whatever way they want, and I just think it's shallow, it's sad, and I think it's a bit pathetic because you can't just turn away from things that annoy you. Like, you could speak up on views, why not? But don't rejoice at someone's demise. Now, if you've affected someone's life and you're considered evil, like someone I don't want to go on tangent about people, but let's say Trump, for instance, I won't have much compassion for him because the actual, he's physically caused distress in people's lives. Like, physically, he's removed people from their lives. He's deported people. He's caused an awful lot. And there are suggestions that he's had a very, very nefarious life in the past, which I wouldn't be surprised. People with power, prestige, they don't think long term. They just think what they can have now, and they don't really have much respect for humanity or anybody. They think that they consider it a class system, like I'm above you, and no one's ever above anyone. And eventually you get caught out because he's got one of the biggest positions of power in the world. He can use that to subvert the narrative, which isn't really working too much. But he's old, so he may get to the end without really having to bear the consequences of whatever his past is, you know. But I personally think there's a specific place in hell for him myself. But I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say to the point where these people are rejoicing at like, because he's old, he's going to naturally go anyway, Trump. So for me, it's another version of Hitler, to be totally honest. And it's like, I just think there's a place in hell reserved for him. But I wouldn't butt an eyelid, really. I wouldn't sit there and rejoice. You won't see me do videos dancing or saying, yeah, this is right, about time. Because there'll always be another one of him somewhere. It just happens, you know. But I just personally think that, okay, it's the end of that tyrant for now, you know. That's just, for me, that's a bit different. They're similar in some ways, I guess, but not the same. Because Trump actually has power to push buttons and do this and do that, you know. So he's actually gone out of his way to destroy lives. And I think there should be accountability for that. But again, I just think the way people react to things says an awful lot about them. That's what I think. So some people come out and try to act all, you know, righteous, but really they're just vengeful. And they've just got just as much hate in their heart as he does. Because how could you think someone that's got views on specific topics is any worse than someone who takes joy at someone's death? And say in such a horrific way in front of their family and say that's deserved. I think they're sick. Like you couldn't just accept that someone has a different view. You know, I mean, all these things. I'm not going to go around in circles with this, but it's quite clear what I think of this and how I think of people who rejoice at something so tragic. I just think it's shameful. And I think just and again, I've spoken a lot. I'm not going to go here. You can read my books. You can see other ones of my video. But I've already spoke about this, where this the cancel culture. I absolutely hate the cancel culture. I don't believe in it at all. There's topic I've already expressed there. There's going to be topics where people don't agree, and it'd be too many. It's too many people that are looking to cancel people, and it's these sort of people that keep doing this stuff where they think it's fair that someone loses their life, and they're just part of the cancel culture. To me, they feel justified in executing and persecuting, and they think it's fair judgment based on the fact that someone has a view that doesn't match theirs, or they take deep exception to it. Some of them are just, like, for me, they're just a bit snowflakey. They can't handle someone having an idea different to their own. And so they really, really, it hurts them that much. And I just think it's sad. Like, I am deeply against abortion. Like, I mean, I'm pro-choice with women having the choice to have an abortion. So I think anyone that says that women shouldn't have that right and they should just bear any child that they conceived, you know, that's quite mental, because not everything's planned. Not everybody can handle it. It can have it really cause mental anguish on them. Like, even women, even if they mean to have a child, they get that postnatal depression. So there's all sorts of things that happen to their hormones. There's financial problems as well. They might not be able to bring the child up. So then the child's maybe born into poverty, but not even poverty. They might be born into a loveless life. So it's extreme, and it might not be the best moment for them. You know, so it's not always in the best interests. And then we hear about child trafficking and things anyway. So like, some people that justify, you know, so some extremes and some things, it's like usually for a reason. You've got to just look at every angle of a conversation, you know. But yeah, I think women should have the choice to determine what they do. But for me personally, I would never want to terminate a child of my choice. You know, I would bear the responsibility, no matter how hard it is for me. And that's why I'm not really. I don't jump into situations though. So, you know, some people do. They can't. They have to have that physical intimacy, or they don't think life's worth living. And look, it's a nice feeling, of course. But I take the responsibility seriously, and I just think some people don't. But of course, there are exceptions to everything. But again, look, our views are going to be extremes from one person to the next, isn't it? So, but I just think rejoicing when someone goes, I think, is the shallowest form of expression. It's really a low point for humanity, in my opinion. Because I always think this: if you think low vibration people, what would they behave like? And you think about high vibration people, like people where, there would be peace on earth, it would be tranquil, originality, people accept everybody as they are. What's think of the contrast between both sort of societies? The ones who persecute people, execute people, and it's almost like they're around this fireplace and someone's being strung up and everybody's just chanting around it, feel justified. That's literally what these a lot are doing in a different way because we have social media, but they're no different. I wouldn't be surprised if it was back in, you go hundreds of years back into the past, I wouldn't be surprised if they would be happy enough to stand around chanting. But yet, they're not doing that. They're just doing it on social media. But it's the same thing. Whereas I think, personally, we should be accepting everybody as they are. So even if you're just extreme, you just leave the extreme person to be themselves, It's like hopefully they'll find the error of their ways, But yeah, I just think we should be inspiring people to heal, not forcing their end. So I'm not going to go around in circles with this. If people can't see it, then you can't show them. But I don't share the opinion of these people because I think they're emotionally stunted, to be totally honest. And the sad thing is, there's a lot of them. So, what can you do? Like I said, all you can do is really talk on topics and hopefully heal and educate people. But sadly, I think some people can't be educated or healed because their ego's in the way. And they just see things from rose-tinted glasses in the same way that perhaps he did. So are they any better? That's the question, isn't it? Are these people any better? And I don't think they are. They're just martyrs. That's all they are. And it's all a popularity contest with this cancel culture shit. It really is. It's like they use something to push their popularity up. So someone has to, by extension then, someone has to be a victim for their promotion. Because without the cancel culture, what else have they got to shine? So they'll have extreme views themselves. And they'll justify it. But then like I said the other day, yesterday in my last video about The Last of Us, it depends on what side of the conversation you're on. Is the impression you have and the direction you see it, But I see through all of it, and I see they're no better than him.